We are live.
We are live. Hello everyone, so we are live today and I'm going to be talking to John Denley and we are going to be discussing DNA. I call it DNA because it states depression and anxiety. And I'm not sure how about you, but lately there have been many people struggling with depression and anxiety, and I feel it's the topic that should be discussed a little bit more, and it should be given some options for those people that are struggling or have experienced it, what to do next, how to get out of it. And obviously because both of us have experienced pretty much both.
Yeah, well, I certainly have.
Yes, of course. Then we both know what we are talking about, and we would like to give to people.
Are you not on Wi-Fi?
I should be.
Excuse us for a second while we check. Yeah, Wi-Fi.
Yes, it is. So
Sorry
yes,
about that.
we should be online, and hopefully you can see us and you can hear us. So
And if you're watching a replay, just type in replay or hashtag replay if you like.
Yeah.
So people know what you're watching the replay.
Perfect, brilliant, good to know. So I think firstly we should probably clarify the difference between the two. And you stated it quite nicely, so I'm going to let you describe.
I've had a few people say that it's quite surprising when I describe it, the way I look at it anyway. And the way I look at it is that, the way it is really, is that when you're struggling with depression, you tend to spend a little bit too much time looking at your past, and what happened, the things that happen in your past, then make you worried about things that might happen in the future, and that's where anxiety lives. So anxiety lives in the future when you're worrying about something that might happen at some point in the future, and so you're anxious about something that might or might not happen in the future. And the reason that you're anxious about something in the future is because you've had an experience in the past that is then making you think that either that's something or something like that might happen again in the future.
So it's the personal experience that we experience that's stuck in our minds and in our body that we are afraid of experiencing again, isn't it?
Yeah, and it doesn't necessarily have to have been something that you've experienced. It might be something you've seen as well. So if you watch a movie about an air crash, for example, that might make you anxious about flying in an aircraft.
That is actually very true, and I have to say that's why I was so afraid of flying as well. Yes, I watched all those movies that the planes crashed and everything. Final Destination is the one.
Oh yeah.
That seriously, and I remember the first time when I was meant to get on the plane.
Yeah.
I literally was stood there. It's like in the movie, sort of trying to make a step onto the plane and feeling so, am I gonna get to the other end alive?
Yeah.
So
and the key thing there is to not look at the potential bad things that could happen, but look at the opposite and all the good things that do happen. So all the millions and millions of, maybe not millions per day, but certainly thousands and thousands of aircraft that take off and land every single day without any trouble whatsoever. And then you hear about one aircraft that crashes and you go, oh my God, I'm really worried about my aircraft crashing. It's like, well, yeah, that's one out of hundreds of thousands. I think there's some statistic or something that it's been years or something. The percentage of deaths on an aircraft is something ridiculous compared to, I mean, even something like a swimming pool, for example.
Or driving a car. Or even crossing the road.
Crossing the road, yeah.
It's kind of like the law of attraction. If you think it you might attract it.
Exactly. We get some people watching,
Great. Hello,
give us some
everyone.
hearts and stuff if you like what we're talking about. And if you can hear us as well, we want to double check we can actually be heard as well.
That would be great, yes. So basically the depression is sort of being stuck in the past. And having bad experiences in the past. So how could we define it a little bit more?
Well, I mean, the people who are struggling with depression will tend to spend too much time thinking about stuff in their past as well. And rumination is a classic part of that process, where they think to themselves, oh, I wish I'd done something different. How could I have reworded that and so forth. But spending
sort of worrying about what they have done in the past, and although they cannot change it, it is in the past and it's still sitting at the back of their mind, sort of reminding them, oh, you did that.
And the key thing is that you can't change anything in the past.
No.
Everything that's gone is gone. You can't do anything about that. All you can do is potentially plan for stuff that's happening in the future. But even if you're doing that, you're only planning for a possible future, because things can change as well. And all you really have is the right now, the moment, the moment right now, which is.
I think it comes to the point where people need to accept that the past cannot be changed. it cannot be adjusted.
Yeah.
They just need to come in terms. It happened.
Yeah.
The lesson have been learned,
Yeah.
and we just need to move forward
Yeah,
and
and
make sure that we live in the present moment
Yeah.
without worrying about the past and what happened.
Yeah. Of course, you can learn from the mistakes of your past. So things that have happened, you can go, oh, well, if that situation happens again in the future, I could handle it better.
Yes.
But the danger is spending too much time thinking about how you could have handled it better or how you could have done it better. You can just go, well, I would have just done it differently, or I could have done this instead, and then leave it at that. The other thing that's dangerous with people who are struggling with depression is telling people the story of the past as well. So the more times you repeat the story of the negative stuff in your past, what happens inside your brain is your brain goes, oh, you're trying to remember that, so I'm going to store that more fixed in your brain.
Yes.
And it'll tend, whereas what you really want to do is you want to focus on all the good stuff that happened in the past, so that your brain remembers all the good stuff and kind of forgets and ignores all the bad stuff.
Exactly. But let's talk about how we really feel when we are depressed.
Sure.
Because I think it's quite important. Sometimes people have been experiencing certain situations, feelings throughout their body and mind, but they are not sure how to address it, what it is, why they've been feeling the way they've been feeling.
Yeah.
So how was it, tell me, how was it with you when you felt depressed?
Oh, well, yeah, and I the book that I haven't quite written yet, which will eventually be written.
That's okay.
Is I talk about how it's usually a slow process when you fall into depression. So even if you've had a significant bad experience, initially it's just a low feeling, but then over time it gets worse. So for me it was very, very slow. It was over many years, and I didn't realise what was going on. And the way I describe it in the book is like if you're on, if you see a fresh snowfall and you decide you want to go out and do some sledging or playing in the snow, and you're going up and down the slate a few times, and eventually the snow is compacted down, it turns into ice. And it starts getting slippery, and it starts getting difficult to get back up to the top of the slope. Yeah. And other people have noticed this, and they've gone off to play in some fresh snow somewhere else, and then you've kind of suddenly found yourself left alone at the bottom of this slope. And you think, where's all my friends gone? Why am I stuck at the bottom of this slope? And then you try climbing up the slope, but it's now really, really slippery, so it's really hard for you to get back up to the top. So you're not experiencing the highs and lows of life, which is what it is when you're playing on the snow and you're going up to the top and you're having a run down. You think, yeah, this is kind of fun.
So it's that balance.
You're now stuck at the bottom and you can't get back up to the top. And you start getting tired and you decide you're going to sit down and just have a rest. And then you start getting cold and it gets difficult for you to get back up again. So that's when depression gets really, really hard, and you get kind of stuck in this morose feeling, and then feel like you don't want to do the things that you enjoy. You start not going out, you start not eating the right foods, you start
doubting about yourself, questioning everything.
All the things that you should be doing to get yourself out, you stop doing them because you can't be bothered, and you feel like it's not going to help.
I think to some extent you sort of lose the energy of doing things.
Yeah.
But we need to be doing things in order to keep the energy level up.
Right.
And the sort of happy adrenaline sort of going through our body, which is what.
Yeah. And that's when it becomes really difficult when you're struggling with depression, because you don't have the energy to be able to put the energy in to have to do something that is energetic. Yeah. And in the way sometimes, because I have a lot of conflict with people saying that whether or not you should take antidepressants and so forth.
I was going to talk about that because I think it's a tricky subject, really. I think when people choose to go to get some help and some antidepressants, it's quite bad, but also it's a drug. It's a drug that helps you to sort of cope with the state of mind at that point, at that moment. But the problem is it's only for a certain amount of time. Right. And then it's really close to becoming addicted to it because of the feeling that it creates within the body.
Yeah, I mean, the way I describe that, which then ties in with the story I just told you about that, is like if the doctor comes to the top of the slope and throws you a rope down and then pulls you up the slippery slope to the top of the slope. And then you suddenly feel like, oh, great, fantastic, I'm feeling okay again, but I don't want to let go of this rope now because I don't want to slip down the slope again. So then you tie the rope around your waist and you tie it to a nearby tree and think, right, now I'm safe. But now, of course, it's exactly the same before, is you're stuck at the top of the slope now, so you can't now experience sliding down and having the fun because you're now stuck at this one level and you can't move on. Yeah. And of course, that's the point at which you need to start thinking to yourself, okay, well, now I'm stable, now I can make sensible decisions in my head again. What could I be doing to learn how to cope on the snow and on the slippery slope so that I don't slip down that slope and get stuck at the bottom? How can I decide to choose to go and play on fresh snow instead of on the icy snow, for example?
I think this is one way of dealing with it. I think this is one way that people can choose to go through. But I actually, when I felt depressed, I recognized the changes within my body.
Yeah.
I recognized the thoughts that I was having, and I recognized how my daily habits, daily routines have changed.
Yeah.
And how I became sort of a victim of my own bad habits, you know, that I've created. And I don't. Some people might be really on that journey that they recognize it, they know that this is happening, but don't know what to do. And I think this is why we are here, really to encourage them to basically, you can get up, you can get up, you can take your own life into your own hands. And yes, talking is definitely one way of helping. Because by releasing the feelings and having someone to share it with that will not judge you, that will not look at you through the fingers, you know, that will listen and understand how you're feeling, that is definitely one way of healing.
Yeah, and they can help you see what you're not doing as well. That's the other thing, because from the outside, it's from the inside, you can get stuck inside your own head.
Absolutely.
And it becomes very difficult then to make sensible decisions and recognise what's been going on in your life. Whereas a third party who's not feeling the way you're feeling can look at you and go, hey, well, you used to do, you know, dancing, or you used to go out and you used to have fun, you used to paint. Why aren't you painting anymore? You know, that kind of stuff. Why don't you go to church anymore, or whatever it is that you used to do that was fun? In fact, when I'm talking to people, that one of the first questions I always ask them is, so what do you do for fun for yourself? And typically the answer is, well, I used to do something else. But
so
I can't, and I say, well, so what's changed? Why are you not doing that anymore? Oh, well, life is too busy, and you know, the children and this and all that.
I think that's one of the...
So why don't you start doing that again? The fun stuff that you used to do. So.
But also, when you mention children, you know, I think especially with mums, it's quite difficult and tricky, because obviously the day only has 24 hours, so we need to be planning the 24 hours carefully. And when you have children, you have to look after them, you have to take care of themselves. But I believe that, you know, first we need to look after ourselves. Because it is important in order to be well, then you can look after others.
Absolutely.
In its best way. Especially to be the greatest example to our children. Parents need to be...
taking care of themselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And in fact, coming back to what you were saying before about, well, we were talking about the aircraft and about getting onto aircraft. Of course, when you get on an aircraft, the first thing they tell you is, if the oxygen mask comes down, you put your own on first, and then you put your children's on, because if you're dead, you can't help your children anymore. And it's the same in life as well. If you're unhealthy and you're struggling with your own health and your own mental well-being, you then can't look after your children properly. So and like you said, you need to set an example for your children as well. So
yes, you do. And I think with the depression, it sucks you in, and it likes holding you back. But it all comes down to your own habits and decisions. Because it is very easy to sort of have a lion in bed in the morning. Come on, who doesn't like it, okay? Just sort of cuddling in that warm bed, under the blanket, you know, everybody likes that. But that is exactly what the depression and the state of mind that comes with it needs. That lazy body and mind. That laziness that comes with it, and then it starts hitting you. Then you start questioning, oh, I have to do this, oh, I have to do that, oh, life is too busy. The day has got 24 hours, it's not enough. And all these questions that keep popping into your head and everything. But in order to break that, you have to get up and do something about it.
You just need to be careful about saying it's lazy not getting out of bed, because obviously that it's a laziness that does that, but it's the people who are not getting out of bed are not lazy. Their depression is causing them to not want to get out of bed. So
for sure. So in order to really face it and do something about it, what do they have to do?
Take action.
Get out of bed.
Get out of bed, exactly. But it can be just a really small thing. So again, obviously every person is different as to where they're struggling and what they're going with.
Absolutely, it's very individual.
For one person, it might just be as much as getting out of bed, having a shower, washing your teeth and getting dressed. That could be the first massive step for them. And if you just do that consistently for 3 or 4 days in a row, then that suddenly becomes a big achievement every single day. And then you start feeling, oh, well, now I've managed to do that. I've normalised getting out of bed and having a shower, washing my teeth and getting dressed. So now maybe I can do one more thing. Maybe I can now go and step outside my front door and look at the trees and the birds and so forth. So then you do that for a few days, and then maybe you walk around the block, and it just becomes baby steps with repetition that helps you get to make the steps in the right direction.
Yes, exactly. And as you said, everybody is different, so different thing will work for different people.
Right. Yeah.
Because for me, what I found is in the mornings I like getting my stretching done.
Yeah.
I like doing a little bit of meditation, and that sort of starts with the slowly waking up the body and mind and getting ready for the day.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
So that's what's been helping me. But some people might prefer to just get up, get dressed, and go for a run.
Yeah.
You know, because that gets their body moving and
faster. Yeah.
Yes,
I mean, I certainly find that if I don't do something almost sharp and shock in the morning, then it's all too easy for me just to fall asleep. And I've tried meditating in the mornings, and I just tend to fall straight back to sleep again. I kind of need to get my body going first before I can do the meditation.
Again, it's not for everybody.
No, exactly. Yeah. But it also depends on how well your brain is, how strong your brain is as well, how strong your mind is. And obviously you're in a position right now where your mind is strong enough to be able to say, I'm going to get out of bed and do this thing. But back when you were struggling,
it took a while.
Really
it
hard.
does take a while. I'm not going to lie. It is true. It's basically practice after practice after practice.
Yeah.
Because practice makes perfection, and yes, unless it becomes a habit, a daily habit, then you're not going to commit. And I believe in the rule of 7, really.
Okay.
If you reach the point where you've repeated it 7 times, then that's an achievement. That's 1 week only. And then it's just much easier to keep on top of it.
You want to repeat that seven times. That'd be even better.
Yes, exactly.
I don't know how much that works out. What's 7 sevens? Well, 49, isn't it? 49 days. That probably works nicely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But the more, the better you feel. And for that better feeling, I think anything that makes you feel good is definitely worth trying.
Yeah.
Because if it doesn't serve you, if it doesn't make you feel good, then there is obviously something to be done about it.
Not, yeah.
And I was gonna talk about sort of health issues when it comes to depression, because obviously our body is communicating with us all the time.
Yeah.
And did you have any sort of health issues when you were struggling?
I didn't notice anything. No. I mean, I've always felt healthy. And interestingly, when I wrote my 15 pillars, which is part of my program, actually I only wrote 14 originally, and I was just showing it to somebody, and somebody said, "Well, why isn't food on here?" And I thought, "Oh, that's a good point. I never thought about that, because I've never not ate healthy food, so it's never been an occurrence to me that eating healthy food is important to some people." And then obviously somebody pointed it out to me. So I never noticed any health issues. Mostly for me, it was just the effort of doing things that was a struggle. And my depression actually came from anxiety, weirdly enough. So although we were saying before about depression leads to anxiety,
it was anxiety sort of.
It was
the other way around.
It was things that had happened in my past that were causing me anxiety in the future.
Yes, of course.
And then I went into a low feeling about this stuff that I was worrying about in the future, which then fed into, so why am I scared of stuff in the future? And then I started looking back and going, oh, it's because of this, this, and this. This is how I'm feeling bad. So was it sort of
related to some kind of limited beliefs?
Yeah. Well, for me, it was. I'd struggled with social situations. I'd never quite understood it, and it's funny because and this is kind of where we were talking about talking to somebody is important, because I didn't realise that I was different from other people. So when I was seeing other people in social situations being all confident and being able to do things, I could never understand why that wasn't working for me. And I'd see people being invited to parties and being invited out to the pub and stuff, and I was thinking, so why do I get not invited to these things? And I couldn't work out what it was until much later anyway. But that started getting to me inside. So that's where
you started sort of being anxious about the future, that this would repeat.
Yeah, for me it was actually, it manifested itself mostly in talking to attractive girls, so girls I was attracted to, and I was trying to talk to attractive girls in pubs and clubs and so forth. And because I was so anxious about talking to them, because I'd been rejected so many times in the past, and all of that came about because I was being too forward too quickly. So I wasn't being sort of all hold back and flirtatious. I was like, really interested, so not straight away.
Yes.
And I got so many rejections that I then went into every interaction kind of half expecting the rejection and having that desperation. And so then I was just getting more and more rejections the whole time. And because of that, I was then really, really scared of going to talk to a girl. And I got to the point where I would go into a bar and I'd see a girl I was attracted to, and I would stand there thinking to myself, well, if I go and talk to her, then she's going to reject me anyway. So there's no point going over and talking to her.
Okay.
And so that's where it all went wrong for me. So.
Yeah. So maybe there are some men out there who feel the same way.
Quite probably.
What would you say? How did you overcome that? Because now you don't have a problem talking to the girls.
I have no problem talking to them. But, I still struggle with taking it any further than being friends and talking to people. But that's a whole different.
Sure,
problem.
but sort of. I think it's the case of. Being sort of yourself, not trying to be pretending to be someone else.
Yeah.
So again, sort of accepting that you are different.
Yeah.
I'm different too. So.
Well, I mean, the way I gave it came. I actually went up to London to go on a course about how to be better with girls. And the first part of that course was a thing called destroying approach anxiety, which was an NLP technique. And it was all looking back at why you've got these belief patterns inside your head and how you've become programmed to believe that girls not going to be interested in talking to you. And so I broke that pattern down. And then the next part of that was learning how to have a conversation. So the advice you were saying to other men was learning that when I go and have a conversation with a girl, if I'm not expecting any results from that conversation other than to make them smile and ideally laugh. If I can make them laugh, even better. But if I at least make them smile and then walk away having improved their life during the conversation that we've had, that's all that I need to worry about. And so that's what I was focusing on. I was focusing on making sure that I enhanced their experience of talking to me every time I was talking to them. And usually that was complimentary and making them feel good about themselves and that kind of stuff. And so that was really good.
So you
and then also listening.
Way.
I was going to say the other thing that's really important is listening as well, because that's the other technique they taught us as well, was not just trying to think of something to say constantly. Because when we're having a conversation,
we are filling in the gaps.
Yeah, and we're always waiting for the other person to stop talking.
Yeah, so that we can say something.
And we're trying to remember the thing that I've got this really cool thing I want to ask. So I'll wait for them to stop talking and then I'll ask the question. But then you go, well, that question's got no relevance to the conversation we were just having. So it's much better to listen to the girl and then react to something they're saying. So, that's really interesting. Tell me more about that.
But I think that's not only about the girls. I think it's about the boys as well. It depends on the individual, really.
Right.
Sort of, I think listening is the key, really, because if you are already thinking in your head what you want to say to what the person is saying, you are not really listening carefully to what they really mean.
Exactly.
And that this is where it can go wrong. But this is like a circle, because this is how we've been sort of learned to communicate, but sometimes taking a step back and just holding a space, being silent, and then interacting means that you've actually taken on board what the person is saying.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly. But I think, these days there is a massive pressure from the society as well. Especially when it comes to an individual feeling sort of completely in peace and in whole from within. Accepting who they are, where they are, what they have. It's just constantly sort of wanting more. I think as human beings living in the 21st century, it has become really challenging to see everything that's around, see all the glamorous magazines and especially social media. Social media has been, although we are using it.
Social media here.
Yes,
Facebook. You're looking at us sitting in this beautiful home.
Absolutely. But it depends how you use it. We are using it for a good cause. Okay. We are trying to pass a message. We are trying to help, and the reason why is because actually social media has become the worst enemy of us human beings. I believe in that because it's really tricky to be in peace with your life and yourself when you look at Instagram and all those perfect pictures, edited, pre-edited, whatever.
I was going to take issue to a certain extent with what you're saying about it's a bad thing in society, because obviously there's a huge amount of good that comes from social media and that interconnection as well. But what you're right is when you're looking at other people and seeing their perfect lives and you're thinking, well, they're perfect and my life is really rubbish. And then we were having this conversation earlier today about how the thing is that you're sitting there in your rubbish life and you're posting onto Facebook and Instagram all the best bits of your life as well. So the other person that you're looking at that you're perceiving as having this perfect life, they're probably looking at your life and going, oh my gosh, that person's perfect, they've got a fantastic life. I get this loads because I get loads of people saying to me, God, John, how can you, in fact I had it this morning, my friend Mark sent me a message saying, how can you do all the things that you do, John, with your life in the way it is at the moment? And I was just like, well, I just make it possible to do these things, so I look for ways of achieving them. And actually, again, you probably only see the best bits. I mean, Saturday was a classic example. I was in the Forest of Dean with a bunch of people, and I went out for a short run, and eventually ended up at the top of Simmons Yacht. And so I was posting photographs of me at the top of Simmons Yacht with all this beautiful scenery and all beautiful. It was just amazing at the top there. But of course, what you hadn't seen is the struggles of getting to the bottom of Simmons Yacht, and me getting really worried about not having enough water because I hadn't taken any water with me, and not being able to afford to buy anything when I got to the bottom, and then having to climb up this massive steep hill to get to the top of Simmons Yacht. And then nobody saw any of that. They just saw me standing at the top with this beautiful thing going, wow, it's fantastic.
That's what we are doing these days, isn't it? We are trying to show ourselves in its best picture.
Best light, yeah.
But that's where we struggle.
Yeah.
Because where is the truth?
Yeah.
If you are not really in peace, as I say.
Yeah.
If there are things that are going on in your life, if you experience feelings that are not quite right, then what's the point of posting any sort of good pictures or anything else?
Well,
it's really it's a fake. I think it's a really fake sort of life that someone can live.
Yeah.
And I think it's about getting out of it and being real and living in the present moment.
I think it's worth posting a bit of a balance. So when you are feeling bad, put some stuff about how you're feeling bad as well, because then at least you're giving people an insight into the real you and not the fake you.
I think it should be, because people that feel depressed or they feel anxious, they I've written a list basically of things that we want to do and we don't want to do, which I'm going to actually read now.
There you go.
So I think
careful the microphone.
What we want when we are feeling, what we really want when we are feeling depressed or anxious, okay? We do want to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Mm-hmm. And that is really hard to see when you are feeling low.
Yeah.
That is really hard to see. We do want to feel better. We do want to stop our thoughts, because the thoughts affect our body and it stops us from doing things.
Stop our negative thoughts.
Exactly. Yeah. We want to stop worrying, because worrying brings more worrying. And we want to stop feeling lonely and lost. Yeah. Because that's what it feels like. Yeah. You just feel that you're the only one in the world, when that is just not true. And the thing is that even if you haven't experienced it, then for sure there is someone around you who have. Yeah. And you never know when you've got the power to actually change their life and say something that might actually lit that little bulb up and give them a motivation to do something about their life.
Help them find their fire.
Exactly. And what we want to do, what we want when we are feeling depressed and anxious, we want to find the reason to live. Because I think when it gets really bad, people are struggling. Yeah. And there have been, I think it was a couple of months ago, when 3 people took their own life.
Well, 2 that I knew, yes, certainly.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, across the globe, there are more and more. But it's just... I've actually listened to one of the talks this morning, and that was quite interesting. There was a guy who was talking about his depression states of mind, and he said he really decided to go for it. He really decided he was going to end his life. And what he did, he called his mum, and because he wanted to hear her for the last time. But his mum was actually an expert in mental health. Mm-hmm. So how he spoke, and within the language, she picked up that there was something wrong. And actually her talking to him, she made him to change his mind. Yeah. And I think it's very important that how we look at other people, how we sort of take their behaviors, if it's, I don't know, somebody gets upset very easily, and it sort of can be frustrating. Yeah. But you just never know what that person has experienced, like yesterday or even in the morning. Right. So I think it's very important.
Yeah, and to give support to that person as well, because a lot of the time, if somebody's saying they're feeling a bit depressed, the natural inclination is saying, "Oh, what have you got to be depressed about?" or your life is so great, or comparing your own life with their life as well. But you don't know what the struggles are. You haven't walked in their shoes. You said something earlier on again about that person has not walked your life and your shoes up to that point. So therefore, they've got no right to tell you what your life is like or how you're feeling.
Exactly.
And that's where you just need to hold space for that person and allow them to say what they need to say.
And that's when it comes to listening again.
Yes, exactly. Back to the listening thing again.
Yeah.
It's funny, we focused on depression, and I realised that we've not dealt with anxiety too much. But I just wanted to say here that all of this stuff is all about how you're feeling right now, and all that anxiety stuff in the future comes from how you're feeling right now. Exactly, yeah.
And the experience.
Because if you're happy and you're joyful and you're enjoying life, then you're not going to worry so much about the things in the future. So. Because
you get excited about the future.
Yeah, which
comes
on to,
yes,
was that what you said earlier or no? Things you don't want and something you do want. No, you were saying about excitement earlier on, about how oh no, it was about the exercise thing, wasn't it? I think I can't remember what we were talking about anyway, but it was about feeling excitement about doing something that was fun and enjoyment. Actually, it's an interesting point because I picked up on something the other day that someone had said, which was that excitement and anxiety are actually really, really close together. And a lot of the time when people talk about feeling anxious about something, actually all they're really doing is feeling excited about it. And if they were to change the words and just say, hey, rather than I'm really anxious about this thing or I'm really fearful of this thing, just say I'm really excited about this new thing that I'm going to try and do. I'm really excited about jumping out of an airplane. Rather than I'm really anxious about it or I'm really fearful about jumping out of an airplane. You could just be really excited about it instead and choose to be excited rather than anxious about something.
It is about making a choice.
Yeah, everything comes down to choices.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally. We choose to be scared. We choose to be excited.
We choose to get out of bed or stay in bed.
Exactly. that is a very good point. Yes. But talking about what we want and what we don't want when we are depressed or anxious, what we don't want is we don't want to see people. We don't want to be with anyone.
Yeah.
We don't want to do anything because it sort of keeps you small, keeps you sad, keeps you moody. Safe. It keeps you there.
Yeah. Well, you think it keeps you safe. That's what it is.
Yes, exactly.
You're thinking if I don't go out and don't do anything, then I'm safe. But actually, what you're doing is just self-destroying yourself.
Exactly. But that's letting it to run our life.
Right. Yeah.
And that is not the way forward. Yeah. We also feel like we don't want to wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
And sometimes, when it gets to the worst, we don't feel like living.
Yeah.
And that is quite bad. But all of these that I've mentioned are exactly things that needs to be done in order to make a change.
Yeah, to make the difference.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Because we need each other. It's like you and I, we've been talking a lot, and that's why I decided to do this live talk, because there is so much to be shared, so much to kind of pass on and make sure that people know that they're not by themselves, because many more, those that even don't talk about it, have experienced it, have been feeling that way. But I think it's about addressing it, making sure that we can name it, and then we can do something about it.
Sure. Yeah, there's two things I picked up from that right away. Is when we're talking about people who we've known who have committed suicide. I've had, I think 4, maybe more, I don't know, in my life, friends of mine, like people who I've properly known who have committed suicide. And in all of those cases, I had no idea that they were feeling down or low in any way, shape or form. And obviously more recent ones are even better. Now I actually deal with this stuff and I've come through it myself. I really feel like I could have been able to help those people if only they'd spoken to me about it and talked about it. Now I might not have been able to help them, so we should be careful not to beat ourselves up about it.
You can't help everyone, but if you just put that little seed into their brain that you're here and you're here to listen, and help, and
allow them some space to feel how they want to feel, and then help them move forward. And actually, that which brings us back to something you were saying earlier as well about letting that negative voices inside your mind control your life rather than you choosing to control that. There's a guy on Facebook called Richard Wilkins who does a really, really cool thing about this, and I know my friend Ian Daniel's been on his course. He calls it the script, and he kind of has it as a piece of paper, and he sort of says, this is the script that's running your life. And you need to kind of put this script down or rewrite your own script. I'm sure he describes it much better than I do in that respect. But he likes to have this kind of script that's running your life. And until you recognise that you have this script and you can choose to put it down, you can choose not to listen to it anymore, and you can choose to rewrite your own script. Then you need to be able to recognise that that's the thing that you can then control and have choices about.
And the thing is, everybody is in charge of their own life.
Yeah.
Everybody is 100% in charge of their own body, what you put in,
Yeah.
what you do with it,
Right.
how you behave, and also everybody is in charge of the way they speak with others.
What you say to other people,
Exactly.
and how you feel about other people, what they say to you as well, because that's really important. Because a lot of people, in fact, I had this morning. This is why, because it's funny, because I was feeling a little bit down this morning, and Monika lifted me up very nicely. Thank you very much, and my friend Kylie did as well. Don't forget Kylie, and that was because of something that somebody had said to me on Facebook, and I suddenly felt, oh God, that really kind of hurt me inside, but. It then turned out, of course, that it was my reaction to what they'd said that really was the problem.
Yes.
And you pointed out, you said, well, what they've said is probably true, and that's why it hurt you so much.
And
I thought about it, and I thought, I'm not sure it strictly speaking was true, but it certainly hit a nerve, without a doubt. So
there is always, if it hurts, if it really gets you deep in there, then it's almost meaningful to you.
There's an element of truth to it.
Absolutely.
I mean, it might not be the words that they specifically said that are true, but underlying that, or some truth that you're taking, something you're taking on board, is the pain that you're feeling.
Exactly. Okay, so to coming back to the depression and anxiety.
Sure.
It's I'm thinking how we can really encourage people to step out.
Good point.
And talk about it, and mainly do something about it. Because I think number one step is to recognize it.
Yeah.
You do need to recognize that you're experiencing these feelings, and that is something that can be done.
Just check.
And then.
Any comments or anything now? Somebody give us a comment if you're watching.
Give us thumbs up. Let us know if you can hear us and see us. That would be good. Because
nobody says they can hear us. So it'd be annoying if we've recorded this whole thing and there's no sound.
Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Okay. I think recognizing is number one, and then asking for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help, because by talking, you're releasing it, you're letting it out. Don't hold it in, because it will show somewhere further down the line. And it's what I've watched also earlier is stress really comes in waves, and it's up to us how we maintain our energy level up, so that we can cope with it better, so it doesn't store inside of our bodies. Because if we don't, throughout the long term, the stress builds up in the body, it creates some kind of illness or disease, and then
disease,
and then we are really surprised why these things have been happening. And it's it can be in families, friends, relationships, children, everything.
In fact, again, coming back to a point we were making earlier on, actually reminded me what you were just saying then about the ups and downs of life. I went to a talk with Tony Robbins back in 2016. So actually, it was one of those moments that really made me recognise something in myself. And he was what he basically said is, if you're living your life at this sort of energy level here, and when you're feeling down, it goes down to let's say to here, then this is the operating wavelength, I suppose, of your life. Up and this is down, this is up and this is down, or maybe up a little bit, but whatever. And he said, why not just choose to raise your standard so that your standard normal operating system is up here, so then when you feel down, you're coming down to where you were at a normal, so if you're feeling, this is normal feeling and this is down, and if you just raise the whole lot so that normal is here and then this is down, and you're operating now at a down level, which is the same as what you were living at as a normal level.
So in between that top line, I think there are some changes that need to be implemented into our daily lives. In order to keep that high standard.
To raise your personal energy levels on a daily basis.
I personally believe that food is number one.
We had an argument about this earlier.
We had a discussion about it earlier.
Yes.
And I believe that what we eat really affects our moods and our energy level dramatically.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm just not sure it's number one.
Okay, yes, fine. But talking about the food, I have to say, if you're like me that used to be, I loved sweet. I loved chocolate, I loved caramel and any kind of sweet. And basically my body was operating on that sugar level. But what happened, I experienced sort of like really waves of mood swings. every single day, throughout the day, many times. And I thought, this is not normal. Why am I feeling once I could climb the mountain or, jump somewhere, and then I'm feeling like, covering in bed and hiding from the world.
Yeah.
And I have to say, the sugar really made a difference.
It's the way your body converts that sugar and uses that sugar during the day, isn't it? Yeah, if you talk to any nutritionist, I had a fantastic talk, I can't remember her name, about sugar levels, and she was talking about how it's processed and throughout the day, and it's just amazing to read how that works.
But saying that, I have to say, with our amazing advertising system, it is really hard to resist.
Yeah.
It is wherever those companies know what they're doing. They exactly know how to get everybody's unconscious mind to buy the product that they want them to buy.
Sure.
Absolutely. You can see it everywhere. You can hear it on the radio. You can see it on the TV, billboards, everything.
Yeah.
So I have to say it helped me because I am now... I didn't eat sugar for 9 days.
Right.
And that was really amazing. Then I sort of slipped, but I had only a little bit, and now I'm on day 3 again.
Wow.
And I know I do want to maintain it because it really makes me feel much better. It just, the body feels great. My thinking is better as well. But I have to say what helped me was not to listen to news, not to watch TV, not to listen to the radio, and I'm ignoring the adverts that are around me. And if I could put carrots on every single advert throughout Cheltenham, then I would, trust me.
Yeah, you've got to watch the inputs as well, for sure.
Yes.
Because that comes back to that little inner voice that's inside your head, and when we were talking before about repeating stuff.
Yes.
So if you hear a bit of bad news and then you start telling people the bad news, it kind of makes it feel like it makes your brain think that it's a really important thing.
Yeah.
And again, if you watch the news, it's always about something bad that's happened. So in fact, like I said earlier about the aircraft thing, we never hear stories of aircraft that landed successfully every single day. We only ever hear of the aircraft that crashes. Yeah. So the news. They flash that up. They don't say, "Oh, fantastic breaking news! 300 people survived a flight to Florida last week."
Wouldn't that be wonderful?
Yeah,
imagine
landed.
How many successful flights there are. Everybody would be happy to fly.
In fact, if you go to Heathrow, if you actually stand next to Heathrow, or actually any of your local airports anywhere near where you live, and just stand there and watch the number of planes that just come in and land with no issue whatsoever.
We should be putting these on news. Really. They should be like good news, literally on the TV. Okay, an hour of good news.
6,000 flights landed successfully today.
Seriously, and these are real numbers. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's amazing.
20 million people drove along a motorway today and didn't die.
I like that idea. There is something to be done. But anyway, so talking about the food, I think that's one. I think exercising and looking after our bodies.
Yeah.
Because the truth is that we only get one body for our whole life.
Yeah.
And the way we look after it now is how it's going to serve us long term.
I go along with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's been getting much better because I've read the statistics a little bit that, these days people are living longer, which is amazing. And that is literally because of the changes they've made to their lifestyle.
Whoever's watching, can you let us know that you can hear us, please? Who is that? Is that Boris? Oh, hopefully Boris speaks English.
Okay.
Anyway,
talk about the exercise and
well,
I'm going to write it if they can hear us. Okay.
Okay. Go on. Good luck. Have fun. They should be able to hear. Oh, I see. Because if they can't hear us. That's interesting. So so exercise. So actually, I have a lower back strain that happened to me in 2000 in 1990, early 1990s anyway, and I should be doing stretches every day. To alleviate that and prevent it happening in the future. And if I don't do those exercises every day, eventually my back kind of pops out and feels, you've got to send the send button. There we go. Yeah. My back will, my back will pop out and suddenly I won't be able to move very much. And then it'll take me a couple of weeks to get back into being able to move properly again. But what I do know is that if I regularly do these exercises, then I don't have a problem at all. And so that's almost a preventative thing to stop me from having a problem in the future. And it would be the same for anybody really, is if you can keep your level of fitness up, then it's going to prevent all sorts of other problems later on in life. Plus, of course, it's the same thing. It's the more exercise you do, because people get fat because they're basically just not exercising enough and they're eating too much food. I mean, obviously there's there's lots of details involved in that. But essentially, on the whole, you're eating more calories than you're burning. I mean, when I walked across Spain in 2016, I didn't realise it, but I managed to lose 2.5 stone in weight over 40 days, and because my exercise levels were significantly higher than they normally were, and I was actually eating a lot less than I normally was, because I was only eating 1 meal a day, a light breakfast and an evening meal, and no lunch at all. And I was walking 15 miles a day, and as a result, I lost 2.5 stone in weight. So the maths works out. Obviously, there are other factors. So
absolutely, but there is definitely aspect to it where people need to find their own balance.
What
suits them. Yes, exactly, and how it balances with their metabolism and food and energy and everything else. So I think it's definitely important, and I think food and exercise are definitely number one.
They're up there. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
So the argument we were having earlier on was whether or not food and exercise is kind of number one in maintaining mental wellness, essentially, is what we were talking about.
Yes.
And I was saying that actually I think it's probably more important that you understand that you've got that voice inside your head so that you can start to make choices about your life. So for me, I think that's more important. It's more important to understand that you've got the voice in your head so that then you can allow yourself to choose to have the right foods and do the exercises and get out of bed and so forth. So that was my debate about that side of things. So.
But it's definitely the voice that we all have in our head.
Right,
because that sort of runs our life. But it's about how we manage it, how we train it to do things we really want to do rather than the things that it tells us to do that are not good for us. And I think everything should start with looking after ourselves and our well-being. Because that's how you can look after others.
Right.
So
don't disagree with that.
Perfect.
we could debate this for ages.
Thank you.
But they're all important. This is why for my 15 pillars, it's 15 pillars. That's why there's 15 things in that list of things that you should be doing every single day to help you improve. And then one of the things I said earlier today again was the more often you do these things, the better you're going to feel. Whereas if you don't do one of them very much, like when we were talking earlier about having fun, if you're not doing activities that are making you feel good about your life, then your whole life is going to feel empty, like you're not doing anything useful. Now, but what constitutes fun? Well, that's different for every single person. I actually posted on the 4N Facebook community a little while back, and I said, what do you do for fun? And I must have had 70, 80 different answers. I mean, there were variations on a few of them, but there was huge variety because I was trying to work out, what I could recommend to people to do for fun. And it was impossible because some people like team sports, some people like doing stuff on their own, some people like exercise, some people like music, some people like going to the movies, some people like going to the theatre. It was just impossible.
But I really think I've got an idea about arranging sort of like come and play in the park. And I think who doesn't like playing? I mean, when we were children, we played. Everybody plays. Everybody likes playing. And now when we became adults, we are just becoming too serious. We care too much about what other people think about us.
We're too scared to have fun.
And that's also where the anxiety comes from. But at the end of the day, we are all human beings. We have all the same rights, regardless of gender, regardless of color, and everything. No matter where we live, we all live on one home, and that's a planet Earth. So we are all equal. So I think just come and play would be a great way of getting people
that's an interesting point.
To kind of get moving, to just have fun without worrying about what's going to happen because that's all you're going to come and do.
And that's a really good point about your what you were saying. Whoever's just come live, it's gone off again. Don't I? Nobody said they can hear us. I'm really worried that you can't hear us. But never mind.
I've posted it.
It is too. Yeah, it is what it is. So, when we were children, we didn't worry about. We just used to play and have fun.
Would you prefer to stop it and then start it?
No, it's fine. It's fine. Okay. No, we're at the end now, almost, aren't we? So we're almost done. So we hadn't. And so this was a little bit we were talking about earlier on about how we get programmed by our teachers, our parents, our friends and potentially religious leaders if they're in place as well, about what's allowed and what's not allowed. I mean, the classic story we always tell about says, don't talk to strangers, which is fantastic as a child, rubbish as an adult. and of course, you've got this programmed into your mind that you shouldn't talk to strangers, and then you become an adult and you're like, oh, well, I'm not allowed to talk to strangers, so this is a programmed thing I'm not allowed to do. An helpful thing. And when we were children, and the other thing about being the children and playing, like we were talking about before, when children are playing, they don't care about something that's going to happen in the future. They're not worried about what's going to happen tomorrow. They don't worry about what they did yesterday. They're just in their present moment, enjoying that one thing. Yeah, they're being very mindful about the moment that they're in. They just couldn't care. They have no care in the world, and they're just really enjoying it. And if we as adults, I was going to say humans there for a second, if we as adults can engender a little bit more of that kind of playful, living in the moment mindfulness, then we can enjoy much better lives and much happier days.
Exactly. Yeah. And there's definitely no space for depression or anxiety in that world.
No. Well, again, as we started, this whole thing started off is if we're in the moment, in mindful and enjoying right now, we're not worrying about what happened in our past. And we're not worrying about what might happen in the future. We're only worrying about right now, right here.
Yes, exactly.
And it can just be a transformative kind of mental leap to just enjoy the moment where you are right now. Yes. And you were saying earlier about enjoying what you have right now as well. So that's really
accepting that this is what you have right now. Stop wanting more. Stop chasing more.
Yeah.
Because we are in a constant hurry to get a better job, get the better money, get a better car, and everything. If everything that you have is enough for you, then you're the happiest person in the world.
Right. Yeah.
Because you don't need more, and whatever comes is a benefit, is a gift.
Definitely.
It is what it is. But if you think about it, right, living in the UK, and we look around ourselves and what everything we have, we are so lucky and blessed that I think the question really is, do we really need more?
No.
Or do we just want more?
Yeah.
It's the wanting thing.
Yeah. And actually that was a really interesting feeling that I got when I came back from the Camino. So I spent 40 days out in Spain, walking 500 miles, carrying everything on my back.
Yes.
So, and of course, and during that walk, there were 2 times when I took stuff out of my pack and I said, I don't need these anymore, put them in a box and sent them home. Yeah. And I took 6 kilos out of my bag of stuff that I just didn't need.
Yeah.
And by the time I'd come to the end of the walk, I had 2 shirts. I'm going to say this is one of them, but it wasn't one. It was similar to this shirt. I had 2 shirts, 1 pair of trousers, a pair of boots, and obviously some changes of socks and so forth.
Yes.
And not a lot else in my backpack. And then when I came back to England and I came back to my regular room and I opened up my wardrobe and I'm looking at all these shirts and trousers and jackets and coats and I'm thinking, blimey, why have I got all this stuff? It's just so much stuff. And it felt so weird coming back from such a minimal life I'd been living for 40 days to suddenly come back to all this stuff. And I just thought, I want to throw it all out. I want to get rid of all of this and just have like 5 shirts.
Yeah. And I mean, it really makes you realize that less is more.
Yeah, for sure.
We don't need so much. We just need to be...
And actually, a friend of mine pointed this out to us, me recently, sorry to interrupt you there, I'm not listening to you enough, am I? Was that all that clutter around me is actually almost cluttering at my mind as well.
And that is very true.
Yeah.
That is very true, because lately I've been feeling like going away into the woods, into the field, somewhere by the lake, and just being like...
Quiet.
Yes, exactly. And... without any people, without any things, just to kind of experience the stillness of this beautiful world and everything that we have around us that is literally available for us for free to just experience and feel.
Totally.
And I feel that really helps you to bring the mindfulness into the present moment and the appreciation of your everyday life. And those little things that really make you excited, like even walking outside and seeing birds playing, or squirrels, just jumping around.
Looking up at the trees in the wind, and the clouds in the sky. And the clouds can be so beautiful in the sky. We haven't had a lot of them in England in the last few weeks.
Yes.
It's been a lot of blue skies, but when the clouds are there, they're beautiful to look up at. So.
Yes,
and plus, it always helps you as well if you look up, because when you are depressed, actually, this is something we should have talked about before, really. But when you're depressed, you have a tendency to look down and inside and
not to see the world around you.
And not see a world around you.
Yeah. Oh my God. Here in your...
I tell you what, the number of times you walk along the street and people are, obviously we're all like this now on our phones,
of course, aren't we? It doesn't help with the phones.
But also people won't say hello, they won't look you in the eye, and they just look down rather than looking at the person walking towards them. It's like, oh really, just say hello to me. I'm another human being. Connect, hello.
There's the communication where it's going to be lacking as well.
Big challenge for people watching this. Go along the street tomorrow and say hello to everybody you walk past.
That would be a big challenge. Are you going to do it?
I do it all the time. I don't always say hello to them because sometimes they look like they're going to hit you if you do say hello to them. But and also, of course, as a 6'7" man, it can in certain circumstances it can be a bit intimidating from walking past a girl and saying hello to them. And I can see that sometimes. I can sometimes see girls crossing the road to try and avoid walking past me, and that's such a sad thing. Indictment of life.
Men?
But you can completely understand it. No, and I don't think I've ever seen a man crossing the road to avoid me, despite the fact I'm huge.
Yes, but talking about the phones and us sort of looking at the phones is it's stopping us from living in the present moment.
Yeah, also
because
true.
It's you are constantly wiring your brain onto what is going on the phone. You know, checking somebody else's profile or checking your messages or checking your email. Oh, I've got to do this. I've got to do that. It's basically a big struggle, and it affects your body because you know you're getting sort of stuck here when the world happens around here
outside,
and, you know, when you feel like you can breathe and you can look around and just see it all and take it all in.
And actually that's a good point as well, because when you go out to dinner and social and you go to coffee shop and you see people sitting around the table and they're all looking at their phones and you're just like, what are you doing? You're not even with the people you're with. You're with somebody else. You're taking photographs of your food and your coffees and stuff to share it with everybody else, which is fine. Fair enough. I have no problems about that at all. But you know, do it quickly and then spend time with the people that are actually with.
Exactly. But that's where the anxiety and depression comes from too.
Yeah.
You know, trying to be somewhere else rather than being right here, right now.
Again, you're showing the best part of your life. Here, look at this fantastic coffee I've just tried. Oh my God. Do you know, it's funny because I posted a photograph probably about a year ago now. And it was some food that I'd eaten that was really good. And I'd taken a few bites out of it. And so I'd eaten a bit. And then I took the photograph. So then I took a photograph of it. And I got so many comments from people saying, oh, well, you could have taken the photograph before you started eating it because it looks rubbish now you started eating it. I was just like, whoa. So you wanted me to stage my food so that it looked okay. And I'm like, wow, you're expecting staged food rather than, this is really delicious. Take a photograph of this. This is really cool.
It's the expectations of other people that are also affecting our behavior. We are trying to plan everything.
Because we've all been programmed that we should show a perfect vision of our lives to everybody. And then that just feeds on this whole everybody's got a perfect life and my life's really rubbish kind of concept.
The truth is, nobody is perfect.
No.
And nothing is perfect.
No.
And we have our own faults. We have something to learn from each other about ourselves. But as long as it comes to acceptance and everything from within, that's when life really begins.
Fellow people. Actually, that brings a really good point, because you look at some of these like celebrities and famous people and stuff who have committed suicide. I mean, it hit me really, really badly when I can't remember his name now off the top of my head, but it was the Welsh football manager committed suicide a few years ago.
Really? Okay.
And I was just like, wow, that guy has got a beautiful wife and children, a beautiful home. He's got a career. He's famous. He was just on TV last night, for crying out loud. And now he's committed suicide because something was wrong in his life that wasn't happy, and yet from the outside we're all looking at it going, wow, you know, he's got everything.
What we see, but that brings us to the point that again we are all equal. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter how famous you are. You are only a human being.
That's true.
Like
I'll give you that.
Everybody.
I wasn't sure where you were going with that for a minute.
No, absolutely. Everybody is a human being. You know, no one should be judged. Yeah. And it doesn't matter how much you have or how much you don't have. There is happiness for everyone.
And we all came from being helpless babies at one point.
Absolutely, absolutely. And
who didn't have a care in the world.
Yes, exactly. And we've been given a gift of life.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's up to us how we handle it. But the point is, there is always help somewhere around us, and we need each other.
Yes.
We do need each other.
Yeah, find somebody you can talk to.
Absolutely. Don't hold it in. Don't feel that you are there on the journey by yourself, because you are not.
No.
There are people that will help you. There are people that will listen to you.
Yeah.
And there is always something to look forward to for every single day.
And if you think there isn't, come talk to me. Or Monika.
Absolutely.
If you prefer talking to a lady, talk to her.
There will be links at the end, so you can contact either of us.
Yeah.
And it'll be our pleasure to help, because there is definitely the light at the end of the tunnel.
For sure.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, because we've both been through it, and we now at a place where, we were talking about this earlier, is that I had dark days, and even now I sometimes have dark days. But I now know that even if I've got a dark day, it's usually about 24 hours. I can completely reset my life in about 24 hours just by doing all the things that I now teach other people to do.
Absolutely.
Because I now know how I can recover my life really quickly.
Yes.
Now, obviously, there's a whole bunch of of practice behind that. There's
it
months
doesn't
and
take
months
a
of
night.
work.
It doesn't take a couple of hours.
But now I can reset myself really quickly because I put in all the work in the past.
Yes.
And because I regularly top myself up, like we were talking about those little levels
maintaining
before.
it.
Yeah. Now I don't maintain it perhaps as much as I should. Yeah, maybe.
Choices.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Priorities and all that kind of stuff.
But that's why you've got friends around you that can
Right,
help you.
exactly. So when I was having a bad day today and I happened to be coming to see you, or I phoned Kylie up earlier on, and I knew Kylie was going to lift me up, and she was brilliant. And then you helped me sort out the technical problem that I was wrestling with, I guess.
And that's what it is about.
Yeah.
So you're never alone.
No, perfect.
So I think I would like to leave you with a few thoughts, and then the rest is up to you.
Yeah.
Number one, learn to accept yourself for who you are, where you are, whoever you have around you, and whatever you have. Accept everything. Number two, look after yourself first. Then you can look after others. But everything comes down to you. You will always be responsible for your own life only.
Mm-hmm.
And number three, talk about your feelings. No matter how deep they are, no matter how pointless they are, talk about them. Let it out. Find someone you trust. And that is the process how you can start healing.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is it for today. I hope you could hear us. I hope you got something out of it. We're going to check it as soon as we finish. But I would like to thank John. Thank you.
Can I just add one to that as well?
Absolutely.
Because you've talked about it several times, but just didn't mention it in the three there, which was choices. You can choose your own feelings, your own thoughts, and how you're going to live your life. So all of those things, accept it, look after yourself, absolutely.
Talk about it.
And talk about your feelings, absolutely.
And make a choice.
But make a choice to change your life and
to do something
about it. Yeah, exactly. For sure. Perfect.
Brilliant. Thank you.
No problem.
Have a great day and enjoy every single day of your life.
Totally.
Take care.
Bye. Ooh.